Hello, good evening. Welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. With weather warnings for snow in place from tomorrow, we'll find out how local councils are preparing for the conditions. Also on the programme tonight, a man on trial for murdering his niece and disposing of her body in Bradford declines to give evidence at his trial. The number of dog attacks has risen in parts of Yorkshire, according to exclusive data obtained by the BBC. And women and girls in Yorkshire coming together on International Women's Day to make sanitary kits for women less fortunate.
And disruption due to snow is quite possible as we head through tomorrow into tomorrow night. For that, the Met Office have an amber warning in place for parts of our region. Join me for the very latest.
Hi there, we're going to start with a weather warning that's in place for tomorrow in our region. From tomorrow morning, it's expected to cause some disruption later on in the day, with the Pennines likely to be the worst affected area. We'll get more details from Paul on that in a moment, but first let's head to a council gritting depot in Leeds. Join Tom Ingle. Tom, how busy are they going to be tonight? Actually, we can't hear from Tom, I'm afraid. We've got some technical problems. It must be all that snow. Let's hear from Paul first, shall we? Paul, how bad is it going to get?
Well, there's an amber warning in place and the Met Office don't do that very often for snow. So we're looking at through tomorrow. The warning's in place from 3 o'clock, but that doesn't mean it's going to start snowing at 3. That's when the risk heightens for disruption on the transport network. So I think through tomorrow night into Friday, the Pennines right in the firing line. There could be a level foot of snow in places. The higher you go, of course, the worse it's going to be. So Trans-Pennine routes are going to be badly affected later tomorrow into tomorrow night. Leeds Bradford Airport, of course, and some low-lying areas, actually. You know, the information that I've sort of gathered this afternoon suggests that, you know, Sheffield, Leeds, Wakefield, up towards Ripon, Harrogate, you know, even York could see some disruption developing later tomorrow into tomorrow night. The further east you go, the more likely you are to run into rain. But it does look, certainly for, you know, the Pennines could really be clobbered in the next couple of days. And
do we know how long it's going to last?
Well, the snow event itself will be until probably late morning on Friday. The snow on the ground is likely to, you know, persist and not start melting until Sunday. So I suspect we're going to see some real issues developing later tomorrow and into tomorrow night.
Paul, thank you. Well, we were hoping to get Tom, who was at a gritting depot in Leeds. Sadly, we can't get him, but we do know that the council are sending gritters out to ensure that the roads are safe for motorists tonight. A man accused of murdering his niece and disposing of her body in Bradford has declined to give any evidence at his trial. Mohammed Tarus Khan, who's 53, denies killing Sumaya Begum at the home in the city last summer. The prosecution and defence made their closing speeches at Bradford Crown Court today. Heidi Tomlinson was there.
20-year-old student Sumaya Begum had been missing for 11 days before her body was found, as the prosecution described, dumped like rubbish on wasteland in Bradford. She was found with an 11-centimetre metal spike embedded into her chest. Now, her uncle, 53-year-old Mohammed Tarus Khan, has been standing trial for her murder. He's declined to give evidence, but earlier in the trial, the jurors were shown CCTV images that prosecutors claim is the defendant dragging Sumaya Begum's body from his car into wasteland. Now, he admits disposing of her body and attempting to burn her mobile phone, but denies killing her. Today, his barrister told the jury that the prosecution have failed to show any reason why Mr. Khan would have wanted to have killed his niece, but reminded them that her own father was under a forced marriage protection order because he'd attempted to persuade her or force her into marrying her first cousin, who lived in Pakistan, when she was 16. Zafar Ali QC told the jury Mr. Khan had no motive to harm his niece, but that her father had been furious that Sumaya had reported the attempted forced marriage to the police. The jury was told how Miss Begum had been happy living with her other uncle and her grandma before her death. The defence barrister described her as bright, hard-working and brave, and he said her death was needless and pointless. He said his client denied murdering Sumaya, so someone else killed her. The trial will resume tomorrow, when it's expected that the judge will sum up the case. Heidi Tomlinson, BBC Look North, Bradford Crown Court.
You're watching Wednesday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. A colourful show of friendship. The school children raising money for their friend with a genetic disorder with a colour run. Now, it's 1 year since an experiment began in the family courts, allowing journalists to report on some cases for the first time, provided the families involved are kept anonymous. The BBC's Sanchia Berg is one of the journalists who spent several weeks in Leeds Family Court and covered one extraordinary case where a mother has reportedly got her fifth baby back after having 4 other children taken into care.
Jessie is a mother of 5. But Freddie is the only baby she's been able to keep.
It's really hard, to think what's going to happen in future, because I'm still so used to what happened in the past. It's all completely new. It's like having my very first child.
It was the family court here in Leeds that decided Jessie's children should be placed in care. Social workers feared she couldn't keep them safe because of her own risky relationships, poor mental health, and what court documents called chaotic behaviours. The courts try to keep children with their families. There has to be strong evidence to remove them for good. Over the last few weeks, we've followed Jessie's case and around a dozen others. Hearings here at the family court are normally private, but thanks to an experiment in open justice, we have been able to report it's happening here in Leeds and Cardiff and Carlisle. And for the first time, we can talk to families involved in these cases. In court, expert witnesses said Jessie needed therapy before she could look after a baby safely.
It wasn't available. The 4th time I got told I needed therapy. I tried going through the NHS and they said that's not something they'd get involved with. I was happy to try and get a bank loan. I was going to try and go to someone dodgy to get some money, just so I could go private. Because I pleaded with the local authority if they could fund me for it and they said no.
How did you manage to make this change without doing therapy?
When I met my partner, I will say I did all the checks on him, and when it came back squeaky clean, I thought, you know something, this is my shot at being happy.
Supported by her partner, Jessie stayed off drink and drugs, studied for a new career. Baby Freddie's now back home, thanks to a new positive assessment and a family judge. The judge congratulated you on your achievement. She said the baby, Freddie, is thriving in his parents' care. And I looked at you then and I could see you nodding, smiling. What were you thinking?
It was like having someone turning around to the local authority and saying to him on my behalf, I told you so. Researchers say Jessie is unusual, getting her baby back after losing 4 others from her care. Once one child's been removed, councils are likely to go to court if the mother gets pregnant again.
There's been a sharp rise in the number of newborn babies in care proceedings of this kind. In fact, the rate has doubled in the last 10 years. And in a good proportion of cases, even as many as half, the parents involved have already had children taken into care. So it's remarkably common.
Social workers will still monitor the family, thanks to a supervision order, for the next 6 months. This was Jessie's first chance to talk about family courts, tell her own story and help open up a part of our system that's been largely operating behind closed doors. Sanchia Berg, BBC Look North.
The number of dog attacks has risen in parts of Yorkshire, according to exclusive data obtained by the BBC. And 2 of the police forces in our region are spending more than any others outside of London to look after the dogs they've confiscated. Mark Ansell's been looking at the figures for us.
In 2018, there were 301 dog attacks in North Yorkshire, but last year it had risen to more than 400, an increase of 45%. In West Yorkshire, the increase was 16%. In 2018, there were more than 800 incidents where out-of-control dogs caused injury, and in 2022, it was closer to 1,000. South Yorkshire Police dealt with just over 400 dog attacks in 2018. They couldn't provide a figure for last year, but in 2021, they had 628 incidents, which is an increase of 55%. Now, dog attacks can have life-changing consequences. Janet Archer from Barnsley was mauled by a neighbour's dog and needed plastic surgery.
You don't see it coming. You just don't see it coming. And it is a shock, and it's a shock for a long time after. And I still think about it and think, why would it attack? Unprovoked, familiar surroundings, nobody speaking to the dog. I was just saying hello to the neighbour. So it was an absolute horrible incident. I just hope they don't attack somebody else.
When attacks happen, dogs are often seized by the police and kept in their care until criminal proceedings have ended. Kennels and vets bills are costing hundreds of thousands of pounds a year. Last year, it cost West Yorkshire Police nearly £450,000. Meanwhile, South Yorkshire Police spent over £400,000 on keeping dogs in their care. Only the Metropolitan Police in London have a higher bill. Paul Jameson is from South Yorkshire Police.
I think the challenges we're facing are very similar to other forces, to be honest. We've got around 13 million dogs in this country now, an uplift of about 2 million since pre-COVID times. If you look at general trends in relation to the rise of larger sort of guardian type dogs that people are getting, which, if kept in a responsible way, pose little danger. But unfortunately, we've seen a certain element of communities getting these dogs as status dogs.
Let's take a look now at some other stories coming into our newsroom this evening. The family of a woman from Dronfield who was killed in a hit and run in Tenerife are appealing a decision by the Spanish authorities not to reopen the investigation. Michelle Exton, who was 50, died after she and her mother were hit by a van that mounted the pavement in December. The driver wasn't found and the case was closed 3 weeks later. Lawyers acting for Michelle's family made an application to the judge for proceedings to be reopened, which was refused, and they're now appealing. A street in West Yorkshire could be named after a pilot who was killed when his plane was shot down during the Iraq War. Flight Lieutenant David Stead from Burley and Wharfdale died in 2005 along with 10 others. Campaigners in his hometown want a street on a new housing development named after him. Bradford Council will consider the request at a meeting which is now underway. Hundreds of women and girls across our region are marking this today, International Women's Day. It was founded all the way back in 1911 and it's often seen as an opportunity to celebrate how far women have come in the workplace or in politics and highlight how far there is still to go. But a group of volunteers in York are using today to help women who don't have access to some of the things that many of us take for granted. Sanitary towels. I've been to meet them at York Minster.
We're just fastening up the bags that we've made, and then here's one we've made earlier, and so you just pull these and they can strap over, and every station's making a different part to go into the bag.
Women and girls coming together on International Women's Day to help fellow females abroad. This is girl power at its best.
I'm absolutely amazed to think 10 years ago we were a handful of women in York, and now we've had an amazing impact on girls and women all over the world, but also we have all these wonderful women here.
They're making sanitary kits. The idea was brought to York by Izzy a decade ago, and now they've gone global.
We have York kits in 15 different African countries, 4 Asian countries, in refugee camps in the Yemen and in Europe, and we're in Brazil and Belize, and we have hundreds and hundreds of volunteers involved.
They call me the pad lady.
One of those is Pat, the former midwife recently returned from the slums in Goa, a place she's visited for more than a decade. Menstruating girls are often kept separate from others and don't have anything to help them during their periods.
The girls were getting pelvic infections, sore legs, absolutely everything with all the rubbish that they were having to put inside the pants. And now they get clean pants, they get sanitary pads, and they can wash them and they can be in education.
Back at school and work, giving women a lifeline.
My sister daughters and my daughters, they're all using them. Thank you so much for these things.
Every kit consists of a bag like this, and then inside there'll be a pad and some reusable liners and 2 pairs of pants. The idea is that this will last a woman or a girl up to 3 years, and it means whenever she's menstruating, she can just carry on with everyday life.
I think it's just a basic necessity that every girl or woman should have, and that we have them, we shouldn't take them for granted, and we should do something for somebody else, which I think it's really nice.
On World Women's Day to come and help with something and be able to send
and make things over to countries where girls can't go and get education if they are in their periods.
It makes a huge difference because we get feedback from the pictures, the videos showing the girls using them and how grateful they are.
2 pairs of knickers.
Some communities are now making their own packs, allowing them to be self-sufficient. But here in York, 150 kits have been made today, giving 150 women the rights of health, hygiene and dignity abroad. Well, keeping with International Women's Day, elsewhere in the region, the Flying Scotsman went full steam ahead with an all-female crew to mark the day. The world's most famous locomotive was playing away from its home at the National Railway Museum in York to travel through the Lancashire countryside. Plus, look at this, a special flash mob performance took place at a shopping centre in Bradford. Yorkshire Dancers Dance On programme celebrate that you're never too old to try something new. Indeed you're not. Well, let's speak now to one trailblazing woman who takes centre stage in a BBC documentary tonight. It's called Saving Lives in Leeds. This series follows doctors and surgeons at Leeds Teaching Hospitals Trust as they battle waiting lists to transform the lives of their patients. Sheila Fraser is a surgeon at St James's Hospital. She's here with us now, but first let's have a quick look at tonight's episode and hear more about what she actually does.
Everyone in surgery has challenges, and I think you can split those into the conditions you're dealing with and then sort of the outside pressures, the external pressures of the hospital. Waiting list pressures, bed pressures.
Sheila Fraser is a leading endocrine surgeon. She operates on a network of glands and organs that control hormones around the body.
Sheila, welcome. Tell us a little bit about the operation that we're going to see in tonight's episode.
So tonight we see 2 patients who are having similar operations, both for very enlarged thyroid glands, which are extending into the chest and pressing on the airway. And the first patient we see is an 85-year-old lady called Patricia, who is really struggling with her breathing due to this.
And the results are... Actually, we'll wait for tonight to hear the results, shall we? What was it like having a film crew sort of watch you all this time?
So I think to begin with, it was a bit intimidating. We felt a little bit unnatural, weren't sure how to talk. But actually, the camera crew were brilliant. And the more we worked with them, the more we actually got used to their presence. They were really helpful. So actually, as time went on, we became a lot more relaxed into the whole procedure.
You have an all-female team, don't you, at Leeds Teaching Hospital when it comes to this sort of surgery? That must be quite rare.
It is. So we're quite a small team anyway. Endocrine surgery is quite a niche branch of surgery, and there's 3 of us in it, and we're 3 female endocrine surgeons. So yes, I can't think of any other surgical specialty that has an all-female team.
And in terms of the profession itself, on International Women's Day, when we celebrate women who've done wonderful things, it's still very much a male-dominated industry.
I think it is, but I do think things are improving. When I was training, it was definitely incredibly male-dominated, but I think we're seeing a lot more female surgeons coming through. I think there's a lot more female surgeons now who are consultants, and I think in Leeds, on the Saving Lives in Leeds, you see quite a few female consultant surgeons, and I think that actually represents the trust as a whole, in that there are quite a number of female consultant surgeons.
Is there still work to be done?
I think there is more work to be done. I think we're doing better, and I think we are seeing more women coming through, but women still have concerns about surgery. There are still lifestyle concerns, and I think we still need to actually make surgery a better place for women to work in.
And how do we do that?
So I think part of it is mentorship, is showing younger women or female trainees how it can be done, and it is possible to have a life and children and a family.
Like you do?
I do. I have a husband and 2 children. And yes, there are challenging areas, but I think it is really important to show that surgery isn't just for men and can include females as well.
And you are a great role model. Sheila, thank you so much for coming in, and we look forward to the episode tonight.
Thank you.
Let's turn to football now. Fans of Sheffield United, Barnsley and Harrogate Town are by far our happiest this evening, thanks to their crucial wins last night. Huddersfield Town and Bradford City were both left frustrated by 0-0 draws. With a pick of the action, here's Paul Ogden.
Another midweek, another precious 1-0 win for Sheffield United. This one in the Championship at Reading, even more valuable than last week's in the Cup against Tottenham. And another Iliman Ndiaye goal was decisive, though Blades goalie Wes Foderingham and his defence played a big part too. Sheffield United stay in second place with a 7-point cushion. At the other end of the Championship, Huddersfield Town's point from a stalemate against Bristol City leaves them still 6 deep in the relegation zone. A brilliant win for Barnsley in League One. 3-1 at home to Portsmouth, and a lesson to all in finishing your chances. James Norwood rounded off the first to punish Portsmouth for their sloppiness in midfield. Nicky Cadden's curler to make it 2-0 belonged in a division much higher than League One. Devante Cole powered in the third to leave the Oakwell crowd purring on their way home. Climbing up to 4th position is one thing, but Barnsley also have a couple of fixtures to catch up on, which could yet see the Reds join Sheffield Wednesday in the hunt for automatic promotion. Harrogate Town gave themselves a boost in their battle against relegation from League Two, winning 2-0 at Doncaster Rovers. Luke Armstrong and Alex Pattison both scored in the final 10 minutes, a setback at the same time for Rovers' playoff hopes. Bradford City's top 7 aspirations remain healthy enough, despite a no-score draw at Walsall. City stay in 5th position for now, which would have been higher if they'd managed to break the deadlock at the Bescot. Paul Ogden, BBC Look North.
We're going to visit a group of school children now in Ripon in North Yorkshire who've taken part in a colour run to raise awareness and money for a friend who has Duchenne muscular dystrophy. The colour run was also timed to mark the Hindu festival of Holi, which celebrates the triumph of good over evil. Olivia Richwald was there.
Get set, go!
Chasing around the playground and chucking paint and water at your friends. This could be the best day of school ever. But today's colour run at Moorside Primary School has 2 important lessons. Number 1, the Hindu festival of Holi. Here's Sahana.
So Holi is an Indian festival that celebrates the victory of good conquering evil. At Holi, people dance through the streets and throw coloured powders at each other.
Lesson number 2, supporting a friend and raising money. Here's Erin and Ben.
We did it to raise money for a charity, the charity Action Duchenne.
Meet Edward, aged 7. He has the rare genetic condition Duchenne muscular dystrophy. It is a life-limiting condition, and although treatments have really improved, there is no cure.
Duchenne means I can't run that fast and I can't play like Tig and stuff. You have to do stretches and put splints on.
We feel it's really important to just raise awareness, raise as much money as we can for an amazing cause and somehow find a cure. And the event, the children at school are so excited.
The powdered paint is biodegradable, safe and water-based, so no harm was done. And so far the school has raised more than £500 for Action Duchenne.
It's about hope, love, positivity, new life, spring. So it's a really good atmosphere. We're just really glad it's not snowing at the same time.
I feel really overwhelmed and I feel so excited that I thought I would never get this opportunity before.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was the best thing. I don't know how, but I didn't get wet. Yeah, I got wet and loads of paint on me. I just became the Grinch. I'm enjoying myself, really.
What's been the best bit?
Throwing the paint at people. Not real paint, though.
Olivia Richwald, BBC Look North, Ripon.
That looks brilliant fun, doesn't it? Finally tonight, refugees from the Middle East have set up a pop-up Syrian restaurant and cookery school in York. Refugee chefs and waiters living in the city are being hosted by York City Church and are serving traditional Syrian dishes in the city centre. Phil Chapman reports.
Food always tends to bring people together, and that's definitely true at York City Church, where mainly Syrian refugees are sharing their culinary traditions with the community which has welcomed them in recent years.
I would like to welcome everyone who want to come to try Syrian food.
In the kitchen, very good staff, good chef. His name Muhammad, very good for cooking. Today's special food, rice with chicken, and falafel and hummus and sweets for Syria.
Hala Matam started as an idea when I kept being invited to the homes of Syrian refugees in York and kept experiencing lovely food and also their generosity and really just a desire from them to share it with other people. I noticed that as a refugee often you get given loads of things. You get given a home, you get given school for your children, clothes, all kinds of things. But what you don't get given is often opportunities to give, and when you get the chance to share something of yourself with other people, there's a real dignity that comes with that.
It's definitely something we don't have often in York, and it's really nice to be able to support local communities and give back to a lot of people. I think it's really nice. It's an independently run thing, supporting a lot of people that obviously need some help, and we get to experience different cuisines and try something new as well, which is really nice.
I think it's a fantastic opportunity to bring cultures together, and I think food's a fantastic way to do it. It's not a cuisine we currently have in York, and I think it's just a fantastic opportunity for people to meet over something that everybody enjoys, which is a good meal.
And even more dishes from around the world are being shared with a series of tuition videos online.
Konko, mave, tiga, konko.
Hi everyone, welcome to Yahala at Home. This is a project of Yahala Matan, which is a pop-up restaurant in York run by refugees.
And for anyone wanting to experience the pop-up restaurant in person, there are several Arabic feasts planned between now and May. Phil Chapman, BBC Look North, York.
Well, we all want to know what's going on with the weather this evening, don't we? So, Paul, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Amy. Before we get into the forecast, let me just give you an image of what it's been like across our region today. Just a smattering of snow. That was the River Ouse earlier today. Thanks to Gary for sending that in. The second picture was a beauty in Leeds. It just started flurrying around lunchtime. And the third picture that I've selected that you've sent in, that was in Fulwood in Sheffield. If you've got any pictures, we'll need your stuff in the next 24 hours. Address is on your screen, and my latest forecast on the current situation on Twitter at Hudson Weather. So let's get straight on with the details then, because there is an amber warning in place for parts of Derbyshire, West, South and North Yorkshire, especially but not exclusively over the Pennine Hills. And this is a system causing the trouble. It scoots out of the way, not clear until Friday lunchtime, Saturday not looking too bad. Eventually this system on Sunday will bring milder air in from the southwest. Now, this is the radar. It's overreading somewhat, but it gives you an idea that we've had these flurries of sleet, hail and snow for much of the day, and that's where we pick up the forecast through this evening and overnight. Mostly cloudy, a little patchy sleet and snow in places. Ice perhaps the main hazard, with temperatures around freezing point. High water times then along the coast, the first one in Scarborough at 5:15. So tomorrow we'll see outbreaks of sleet and snow pushing up from the southwest, gradually turning more persistent. Some real problems by the end of the day, especially across the Pennines, but low-level parts. It may well be that we see Doncaster, Sheffield, Leeds, York, Ripon, Wakefield having problems later tomorrow. Further east, more likely rain and sleet towards the coast. Substantial snowfall to come for the North York moors, and I think certainly by the time it clears on Friday morning, there could be around about a foot of level snow across parts of our high ground. Temperatures coming in at around about 3 Celsius, that's 37 Fahrenheit. Rain and snow clearing through Friday morning, brightening later. Saturday could well be the best day of the weekend. More at 10:30.
More at 10:30. Make sure you stay safe if you are heading out. That's it from us. Good night.